what is your experiences, Kelly? Can you give us an idea?
Well, I've had paranormal type experiences since childhood.
Yeah, like that, like Desta.
Yeah, and then a few years back, and I wasn't even really a big. I believe in the paranormal, and I became a paranormal investigator. But aliens was kind of like, do I believe in that? I don't really know. I haven't had personal experiences, I thought. And then I saw my first UFO, and then it changed everything for me. And then I started to do more research, and then started to look back into my past and realize a lot of the experiences I had seemed to be abduction related. And then a couple years later, I saw another batch of UFOs too. So it's just kind of, that's how it's led me down this path. Yeah.
It's hard to fathom, for sure.
Yeah, I think if you open yourself up to it and you desire to have an experience, then you will have it. That seems to be the way it's gone for me.
Yeah.
I think I was ready to, I don't know, accept possibly aliens, and that's when I started to have more experiences.
Because you were very young when you really started to get influenced, so.
Yeah.
As you got older, you were probably prepared for something unusual if you had that experience already.
I think I was just saying that I've noticed that if you open yourself up to having experiences, especially if you've never had them before, or you're curious, I think there's more of a high probability that you will experience something versus the opposite. That's where we're leaving off anyway. Yeah, I have memories of, I had a lot of like where I thought I was sleepwalking, but I would go to bed and then I'd wake up in strange places, and I just thought that was sleepwalking. But I mean, there's a time where it was almost like coming to, and then I was like in the bathroom in the dark with a toothbrush in my hand, and I'm like, I didn't go to bed this way, like stuff like that.
Wow.
So, and then when I started to research it later, it was like, well, lots of times, apparently aliens don't put you back the right way. And I don't know how they get that confused, but you'll end up in different spots or wrong way on the bed kind of thing, or in a different room, that kind of stuff.
So Kelly, you think you've had alien abduction experience then, is that right?
I think so. Yeah. I do. Now that I've done research. I was explaining that really until the last few years, I wasn't even sure how I felt about aliens. I believed in paranormal, but I didn't really know. I was on the fence with aliens because it was like, well, I've never had my own personal experiences, I thought. And then I saw a UFO. I saw the black triangle one. It actually went over the top of my house. I was outside one night and I saw it. And I reported it to UFO BC. And then it just kind of went from there. I woke up every month after that, exact same time a month, because I started documenting it. And I would wake up and I would see like images and visions and things as I was waking. So I was already awake. I could look around my room, but I would see almost like a holographic overlay of different things, like rapid symbols and information and stuff that I like almost couldn't process. It was just strange events like this was happening, and then they faded away. And then I just thought, what is happening to me? So then I started to do the research. And then when I was looking back into my past, things like the sleepwalking, which I don't think was sleepwalking, and other events that were happening, I'm thinking, this sounds like abduction. So yeah.
So what was the timeline like? What year did you first contact UFO BC?
I think it was 2012 when I made that report.
Oh, yeah. I was an associate of theirs back in those early days. I used to go there. We had meetings out in Delta and Langley.
Okay.
So do you have a write-up on their website? Like my sighting is on their website.
Yeah, it should still be up there. Yeah.
Wow. So does this go back to your childhood, this experience? When did it begin?
Yeah, since I was a child, I've just had I had psychic things occurring with me. I had the sleepwalking. I had out-of-body experiences, memories of flying, going through walls, just a whole bunch of different things that now I look back and I'm like, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So when did you wake up to think that this is actually an alien UFO experience?
It was after that I saw the first UFO. That
was the triangle craft. This is out in Langley?
Out in Langley. Yeah, like close, well, not quite right on Aldergrove, but out in that area. Yeah, and I had a house then and was outside, and I was just looking up in the sky and I saw 3 stars come out in the night sky simultaneously in a triangle formation. And I thought, that's really strange. And then as I was watching it, they become more prominent. And then the whole thing just started to move. And then I realized it was a black triangle type ship. And it kept moving. And as I'm watching it, and there was no even time to go get my phone camera, nothing. I just thought, okay, I just got to watch this thing go. And then it eventually just faded off and it was gone. No sound at all. Yeah.
Wow. Give us all the details. This was 2012?
Yes, 2012, 2013. I'm trying to think. It was in the summertime.
How big do you think it was?
Just trying to think. I was told to fit how many moons I could fit in. So probably 7 or 8 moons, maybe.
Wow.
Within the, yeah.
Yeah, the issue there is always the distance. You can't guess the size unless you guess the distance. So it's uncertain.
That's a tough one. Yeah.
Seems like it was big though, right? It must have been big.
Yes. Yeah. Pretty big. Yeah.
Like maybe
wasn't
100 feet across or more.
What's that?
Think it could have been more than 100 feet across?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was hard to tell like how far up it was, right? From what I was seeing. But
Wow. So you want to just go through your history from 2013 from there? What else happened?
So much.
Looks like you're a guest speaker now, Paul.
I guess so. Here we go. So do it.
We can always do another take another day. So do what you can now.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it was about a year or so later. And I was actually with a friend at the time. And we both saw this. We were outside. He was moving and I popped by and was giving him a hand and we went outside to take a break and it was raining a little bit and it was a bit it was a bit foggy out and that kind of thing, and we're just sitting and we're looking at the sky, and then we saw all these little lights, kind of like satellites but maybe a bit more brighter, and we saw them in this grouping and they were coming across the sky, and he's like, what is that? And I'm like, I don't know. We were trying to figure it out, and it's like, is it a reflection off of birds flying, or like just couldn't, figure this out. And then as we're watching, they all kind of got into a formation. And then this other one, he's like, look, look, look. And this other one comes racing across the sky, joins up with them and slows down. And then they all are moving in this group. And I'm like, this, I tried to record it and I couldn't see anything on my camera. It wasn't showing up. And I'm just like, are we seeing UFOs here? Like, what's going on, right? And then we really noticed it after they faded away and they were gone, is that everything stopped during the time. So we were hearing, crickets. The crickets stopped. It had been raining. The raining stopped. There were no sounds on the street. There were no cars anymore. He was on a fairly busy street, So as soon as they faded away, the crickets came back. The rain came back. People started walking by. We heard dogs barking again. People driving by, and I was like, where was everybody at the time? Like, it's like everything just stopped. So that was my second experience. Yeah.
So you see, even the crickets were quiet. So yeah. What does that mean? They were in awe of these UFOs?
Yeah, or did time stop or slow down? That's my theory on that, is that we were experiencing time differently. So I think if there was somebody down the street, they wouldn't have seen them. I think it was just for us. So.
Oh, so how do you explain that? I mean, time carried on normally for other people?
Yeah, but not for us. That's the only thing I can think of, with everything seeming to stop during the time that we were seeing them. Yeah.
Wow. So
with
how long?
Traffic or anything. Yeah.
How long was your time at that time? Was it a few minutes, you mean? Yeah,
maybe 5, 6, 8 minutes, somewhere in there, when we started to see them. Yeah.
Wow. So what year was that?
That was about a year later. Wow. From the first sighting. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really? So if you've been abducted, what about reproduction? Aliens usually go for that. Do you have children? Have a daughter?
I have a daughter. Yeah.
So what do you think the nature of your daughter is then?
Who knows? Because I'm not even sure of my nature. So, but I have noticed that there were some experiences in that other house too, around the time of the UFO sightings, that were similar to events I had as a child, like waking up in the night hearing a loud crashing noise, as if almost like having a grand piano smash through the ceiling, like that loud. So you're thinking the whole street's got to have heard that. And I remember hearing this one night, And then I hear my daughter screaming and it sounded like it was coming from her room. So I like raced in. There's nothing going on in her room, but she's like suddenly sitting awkwardly at the end of the bed. I mean, she was like 3 or something. She was just, you know, so young, and she's just sitting there and she's crying. And then in the morning I talked to her about it. I'm like, you know, honey, how did the night go and everything? She's like, did you hear that loud bang, Mom? You know, so she was aware of it, but she doesn't, you know, and then I don't know how she got moved onto the end of the bed, and I don't know what caused the sound. And at the time I was married and my husband heard nothing except for the whole thing. So
you're saying when you were a little girl, you had a similar experience?
Similar, actually. My mom told me about it. Yeah, I don't remember it, but she said that she was in the kitchen and I was asleep in bed and she heard this loud crash. And she said, I thought that like your whole wardrobe fell over and smashed, or it was something. She said, I was so scared. I ran into your bedroom and I like flicked on the lights and I opened the door. There's nothing. There was nothing. Like she said, you were sound asleep. It was fine. Yeah.
Wow. So what year was that when you were a little girl? And she's the chronology.
I don't remember exactly when my mom said how old I was, but you know, probably at 10 sometime. Like, you know, yeah.
Well, because these things you probably know, of course, from your research, these things run in families, right? So what about your mother and her mother or your father? What about them?
You know, they didn't seem to have any experiences like that. My mom didn't, she, as far as she knows, she doesn't remember anything. Neither does my dad. But my sisters had some experiences. So I don't know whether my dad doesn't remember or, you know, certain family members it affects. I don't know.
But a lot of families don't even discuss these things. So you're saying your family actually did talk about UFOs or aliens, or did you discuss these things?
A little bit, but again, like they knew what my experiences were and they believed me, like with my mother and stuff, but she personally, like none of that stuff's ever happened to her, she's thought, right? Like for the most part. So she can't relate to it, I guess.
Okay, so you don't think she's withholding information from you? You think she generally just never had any experiences?
I don't think so.
But do you think your birth was caused by her abduction? Like, were you born as a result of this, or were you abducted and your daughter was a result? Like, where do you think it began, with you or your mother?
I'm not really sure. And the thing is like, I don't have any memories. Like I've had, actually my sister now is a hypnotherapist and she's done a little bit of regression with me. And I don't have any memories at all of ever being like on a ship. Like, you know, people talk about it being experimented on and what they do to you and stuff. I don't have any memories that I know of or I'm aware of anyway of that. So when it comes to like genetics or, you know, how I came to be or my daughter, there could be, but I don't know.
Okay, so I guess we're basically dealing with your life story here. So this is good. So you want to carry on her chronology. So your daughter had this crashing experience. You went to her, and what else happened in your life after that?
That's a tough one. See, there's a lot of stuff, and like I said, since I moved, I ended up sketching a lot of stuff, and I haven't found it yet since I moved. I did pack it, so that's why I thought when I did a talk, if I could bring those, and then I could show you too, like some of the stuff that. Some of the visions and things that I had since. We
can always edit it within this video too. If you find it later, you can put it in later. That's the advantage of video.
Yeah.
I guess it's good to go through it chronologically, like what happened next. Like, did you have other UFO sightings?
Just those two were the main ones. Yeah. Yeah.
So how old is your daughter now?
She is 11.
Okay, so is she living a normal life, or do you think she's having experiences?
Nothing recent anyway. Like a lot of this, I don't know if it has to do with where you live or where you are or where your mind is at the time, because there hasn't been as much since we've moved here in the last couple of years as there was at that other house. And I don't know why that is. Yeah. Oh. But I mean, we do, and I don't know if this is normal, but when I was younger, I used to go and like, if street lights were off, I would go underneath them and I could pop them on. And I would sometimes play games down a street and I would go down, pop a light on and off. And I didn't know if that was like an energy thing or whatever. So recently my daughter and I, there's been a couple of street lights that go off when we go for walks and we just play the game, and she does it too. And she'll go underneath and she'll just think about it, concentrate, and light will go on, light will go off. You know, we just, So
Well, that's significant, isn't it? That both you and your daughter have the ability psychically to turn street lights on or off. Is that right?
yeah, yeah. So yeah,
I think I tried that once, never
recording
worked for
of it, so
me.
maybe I can send that to you. What's that?
I think I tried it once and never worked for me.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, what does that mean? That's quite significant if you have that kind of psychic power.
Yeah, I don't know what it means actually, but it's generational, I guess. So yeah.
So tell us about your studies in Kelly. So you've studied this a lot because of your own personal experiences. What
Yeah.
are your theories and what's your knowledge about this?
I mean, a lot of stuff I've just done is just reading, you know, and trying to catch up on yeah, other people's experiences and connecting with that. It's tough to say what I believe is actually going on. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if, you know, I do believe in aliens now. I don't know if they're interdimensional. I don't know if it's us from the future. You know, like that's the kind of stuff that I want to learn about and figure out, I think.
Do you think you could have experienced a military abduction? I remember Sebastian Martin, he's a Palladian. He met with us a few years ago at a meetup and he met you and he was driving me back. He thought you might have been taken as a MyLab, a military abduction. That was his theory about you. And he's quite psychic too.
Oh yeah, I think I remember that. I think I remember you mentioning that to me. Yeah.
Yeah, you talked with Sebastian. I think that was 2017 with the old meetup group.
Yeah.
We met at the church with Gordy Tong, had L.A. Marzulli giving a talk. A lot of us there, about 70 or 80 of us
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sebastian Martin, he's quite a fellow. He's probably a Palladian. He was placed in his mother's womb in 1976, and he had these experiences of being a Palladian in his previous life. So he's very psychic. So this was his perception about you. I'm just saying, what do you think? Because he met you and he kind of saw into you and he said, I think Kelly's a MyLab. That's what he told me right after the meeting. Yeah, right after the meeting, he said that's what he thought.
Oh, interesting. So, and then how is it connected military with the military?
Well, a MyLab means a military abduction, and a lot of discussion about this in ufology, that the military has an ability to do abduction as well, and they're interested in when someone's abducted by aliens. They want to know, what did the aliens say to this person? They want the intelligence, they want the information, so they want to re-abduct that person, or maybe intimidate them or suppress them or get them to not talk, or to question them or get information out of them. So MyLabs are considered, you know, be malevolent.
Okay.
So just wondering.
I'll research that. Yeah.
I guess, do you feel you're a victim of a MyLab?
Not that I'm aware of, you know. Yeah. I mean, you know, maybe it's time to go back to my sister and do more some hypnotherapy regression or something and see if I can remember more. Yeah, because that's one thing, I don't have any memory of being actually like abducted away from here, like being on a ship or being operated on. You know, you hear people having memories of that, and I don't have that I'm aware of. So
you want to recover the memories, because you recall missing time. Like you remember you said years ago, you said you'd be placed on the bed in a different position, right? Where yes. your clothes would be changed, right?
Yeah. So I had one night where I actually remember starting to wake up, and I could actually feel the covers. It was weird, like they were being rolled off the bed. And suddenly I started to panic, this feeling of like, oh my God, what's happening to me? Then the next thing I remember, it's hours later, I'm on the bed, but I was like placed like sideways, like really strangely, no covers on, and I wasn't even cold. And I'm just like totally confused and didn't know what happened, and everything was like different. But the thing that was weird about it is I didn't get up and panic, you know, like I felt like, oh, you know, it was just a feeling like, you know, just get up, have a glass of water, go back to bed, it's nothing. And so I was like, oh, okay, you know. And then when I actually woke up in the morning, I was like just completely freaked out. And I'm like, why was I so calm about that? So is that something they do to you to make you not, I don't know, like I don't even know what that is, but yeah, you're nodding. So is that something you've heard of, that they?
Yeah, they would calm you down. They would sedate you. But your initial feeling when they were pulling the covers off, Was that the beginning? Like they're coming to get you, they pull the covers off.
Yeah.
And then you have missing time for hours, and then they put you back, they sedate you, and then they put you back in your calm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seems that's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
mhm.
So what year did that happen?
Might have been in between the two sightings that I saw.
So the
Yeah.
sightings
Yeah,
are
I don't have
usually
my notes.
indicative.
So yeah. What's that?
A sighting is usually could be an abduction at the time of a sighting. Often when someone sees a UFO, they don't realize that hours were missing and they had this whole big experience. And they like when Mimi did the video with us some months ago, you know, that was her experience. She would see at the beginning, at the end, and not realize that 5 hours were missing.
Oh wow.
So I'm just wondering when you saw the triangle, if there was an abduction right at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I remember even thinking that. Like, I ran inside and I checked the time right away, and then I tried to go back and think, okay, when did I get outside? When was that? And was there missing time? And there was probably about maybe half an hour to 40 minutes of this. Like, yeah, I feel like there's that was missing, but it didn't feel like it was that long. You know, I think to myself, was I just not paying attention to the time? Is that enough time to be abducted? But then I've actually done some research on that too. And sometimes like 5 minutes of missing time is enough. Like, it doesn't have to be hours and hours of it.
Yeah, maybe they're routine with you. Just short procedure, Kelly. We won't be long, just half an hour of your time.
Yeah, just a little touch up, you know. We got DNA.
We just need some eggs here. You've got babies all over the galaxy here. We just need a few more eggs.
Yeah, really.
They think they picked you because you're an attractive young blonde. You have blue eyes as well.
Thank you. What's that? Do I have blue eyes?
Do you?
I do, yes.
Yeah, well, maybe that's a reason. That's probably something to consider, right? They probably like your genes.
Maybe. Is blue eyes.
Hey, how come no one's ever abducted me? Aren't I good looking enough?
How do you know? How do you know?
Yeah, so yeah, what else would you like to say, Kelly? This is quite a fascinating experience. And you're a local person as well. Like Jeff, he's just really articulate. He remembers a lot. So probably good for you to have more regression, you know?
Yeah, I've thought about that. Yeah, it's not a bad plan. But I think, you know, for me too, it was sometimes all the information or memories, it's too much. Like, I find for me to handle it. So little bits and pieces of remembering is good. And then it's sort of like, okay, this is too intense. And I find that when I feel like that, and this is just getting too intense, the experience is just shut down. And then when I feel like I'm ready again, I'll start to have more experiences, and then I'll, you know, yeah. Because it's a pretty crazy concept when you think about that, about aliens and being abducted and what is actually going on. It can be a bit scary. So.
Of course, yeah. But just such an alien thing. Most people have no idea about this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Should ask Eloasia. She's a PhD in psychology. We want to comment on this or any questions, Eloasia?
Hey, Brian. I was just thinking, Barry, you were talking at the beginning too, wondering how to open even this kind of discussion with people who have no clue of it and who want to bat it away. It's very similar. There's so much bandwidth that people have to allow in this kind of cognitive dissonance is what's happening. It's so unlike anything that they can even have ever considered, and it shakes up their worldview. And so it has to happen a little piece at a time, like you're talking about, Kelly.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was thinking too, in terms of the experience of waking up in a calm state, when we are, like in meditation, for instance, or a higher state of consciousness, a higher state of awareness, there's a calmness there that's unlike when we come back into our mind, into our human ego mind. So when we come back, sometimes the ego mind will go, what happened?
Yeah.
I mean, that can happen. I think it's not just in this place. It doesn't always have to be sedatives, Brian, I guess is what I'm saying. It can be just a general level of consciousness that we are being lifted to or invited into for these experiences. I'm more interested in taking the fear out of it. And when I hear somebody sedates me to do something to me, I go, I don't want to know about that. So again, to be able to explain it in terms of something that a lot more people know of and are familiar with, that helps me. I'm new to this. I've just started with the UFO stuff really this last year. I
Okay.
come up from a spiritual, psychological perspective, new age kind of the last few years. So when you're talking about paranormal stuff, you know, I absolutely agree. And there's a whole lot more that we're all capable of that I think will be possible is coming now. Actually, I think the world right now is being shaken up so we can all go into a place of cognitive dissonance and accept more of this. I think that's exactly what's happening on the planet right now. It's really global. So I'm excited about this time, and for you to be a forerunner, a way shower in this, Kelly, and so many others is really helpful for me.
That's great. Thank you.
So
Yeah.
the truth is coming.
It's here. It's just, can we shake up enough to give enough room for those little pieces of light to come in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that might
so-
work for your brother too, you know. Like, you know, maybe just, yeah, like little bits at a time, and give him some space, and then, I don't know, the way the world's going, you know, maybe he'll be more open just with what's happening, right? I don't know. I mean, I don't know your brother, and it's hard to change people's opinions, right? So
People have to be receptive.
yes.
There you go. Yeah.
You can give somebody, you can tell somebody that 2 + 2 = 4, and you can show them. But if somebody isn't willing to accept it, doesn't matter how. I mean, people have to be receptive to
Mm-hmm.
other points of views.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what happened for me, because I grew up very much like your family, and my family's still there in the very conservative Midwest in the States, very shut down. And it took me a process of years to be able to open up. But when I really started to recognize there is a bigger picture other than just that mainstream worldview, there wasn't room for me anymore there. And so again, I was more receptive, and I started going out as you were and doing the research about what's going on. You know, what is it that's available out here? And I agree that that's really probably the best path, because you can't force it on anybody. I totally agree.
No.
But the key for me was there's a bigger picture, and it's better than what I have now. There's more hope. There's more possibilities. It's exciting and fun, and it's fascinating, and it's painful to let go of what I think I know, because it's really hard to, you know, you hold on to that because then you feel safe, but you're not safe there either, because wherever we are is all fear-based right now.
Yeah.
So to be able to let go of that into a place that's really you know, transformative in possibilities, that works for me. It's exciting.
That cognitive dissonance is true. That's why experiences like you, Kelly, it's good to really promote to the world, make videos, and get your message out there that this is real, that people are being abducted. So it's a rare experience. So I think since the 1980s, it's becoming more known, more mainstream. Even like the movie Independence Day in 1996, they joked about alien abduction. It had that theme in the movie. They joked about it. So something more known. So it's probably cases like yours are good for waking people up. Like Eloisia says, it's a cognitive dissonance for the world, but there's good that comes out of that, because we want to break people out of their stuck thinking, fear-based thinking. So you have a real contribution, I think, Kelly, to give.
Thank
you
you.
know?
Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us more. What else can you say?
Me again. No.
Yeah, thirsty Brian.
I don't know, off the top of my head. I don't know. I can't think of. I know there's more stuff that's happened, but yeah.
Compare how you felt when you were a child about things as to how you feel now. Are you as wondrous about things as you once were? Because these all came to you quite naturally, and you didn't have a defense mechanism to deflect them. They just came as children do. They just came upon you, and you had to accept them because they're part of your life. You didn't have an explanation. But now, as you're older, and you can, through what you have learned already, you can explain things. Is it more difficult to deal with things as an adult as opposed to as a child? You know, things that are unusual like that?
Not really. I think, you know, as you mature, you're more accepting of yourself and your circumstances. So I'm more able to talk about it, and I'm more able to accept it. And as a child, like you said, you just you don't know any differently, right? It's just,
Well, it
that's
comes
your
on, my
experience.
point is it comes on more naturally. And
Yeah.
that acceptance, you're not going to have any defense or much of a defense mechanism to hold it back. It'll
Mhm.
just internalize, you'll just internalize it into your life.
Yeah.
Whereas an adult, we've got a lot of defense mechanisms, especially people who haven't been introduced to this stuff in the first place.
Mhm.
How are we going to associate it with it easily? Going to associate with it easily?
Yeah.
I don't know. You'd be a good one to ask.
Yeah. It's
You
hard
say,
because I didn't really know what was happening to me when I was younger,
yeah, yeah.
and now I do. But I don't know. I've always been such an open person to things that I don't think it's, I know what you mean. As you get older, right? You can have so many life experiences and then you get more jaded and you aren't as open, and
Yeah,
and that does happen. And I think that things like that, when life hits me like that, that kind of, those experiences seem to shut down. And it's not until I start to become more in touch with myself again, like I would as a child, and be more receptive, then I start to have those things again. Yeah.
what helps make you do that? Do you meditate? Do you explore your inner sanctum?
Yeah, I have to connect to myself. That's a big thing. Instead of just going about my day, you go to work or you do all the things you got to do, and you're making meals and whatever, and you're so outwardly focused. That's almost disassociating, right? And then when you start to come back to yourself and do self-connection, I guess is what I would call it, then things just start to happen, right? Synchronicity happens. Then it's just like even psychic things or something, like I'll suddenly think of somebody and I'll look down and they've messaged me, and all that stuff starts to connect, and then the experiences come again.
That means you have to give yourself time and thought to
Mhm.
come back into yourself in order to be
Yes.
accepting. So this is good for me. So maybe I should be meditating and
Yeah.
accepting, try to get acceptance of paranormal or whatever activities might be around me that I don't notice. Because it's a good example of what you said, day-to-day activities. You're just going through the grind. You're doing the same things to make life work, but you don't have a chance to slow down enough to see what's going on around you. There may be an alien behind the next tree, like
Yeah.
Jeff and his experiences, but you just don't have the recognition, ability to recognize around what is going on around you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You're so in the world that
Mhm.
that alien behind the tree, you've seen it. You've actually seen it, but you won't pick it up, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you won't notice it. It'll be in your subconscious, but it's just, yeah.
That was the most helpful thing for me, I think, was to become aware of contemplative practices as a whole. But it's what you were talking about, Barry. It's giving yourself the time and the space. There's a lot of ways of doing this. It's not just meditation, and it's not meditation by a certain rote thing, but it's allowing your mind to go loose,
Hmm.
Yeah, that's
to
a good
allow
point.
that dissonance to just have a place to kind of find its new way of being. And contemplative practices are a big part of that for me. So absolutely. So and again, I think from a human perspective, it's important to share with other people, but it all starts right here in me. I've got to find it in me first, and that's what you're finding. And then Kelly, and then,
Hmm.
okay, then it becomes more real to me and I can own it. And then you have something that you can share and find words for.
Yeah, yeah,
But
exactly.
you find it for yourself first. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's the
Well,
problem, is that a lot of people tend to look outward, right? Like, I want to see the thing.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
experience it. Where is it? And you're looking outwards for it to
Mhm.
find it. And
Mhm.
really actually going into yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you
It
find
feels
it.
opposite,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, but that's
Yeah,
yourself,
that's a
and
good
it'll come
point.
to you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Mhm.